Hello YouTube, this is the Bucket coming at you today with my Taurus PT-25. This polymer framed steel slide, steel barrel firearm was made by Taurus. And you'll say to yourself, this kind of looks familiar. So let me give you the rundown on the specs on it. Then we'll talk about the history of this pistol and the history of this company. And we'll talk about what my plan is. So this is 5.25 inches in length. 4.75 inches in height. The width is a 1.125 inches in width. The barrel length is 2.75 inches in length. The weight is 11.5 ounces, and its capacity is 9 plus 1 in that cool tip-up barrel. Yep, that is pretty exciting. This gun does have a tip-up barrel. So when you deal with these mouse gun, small caliber pocket type carry guns, you will find that due to the physics of it, you need it to be, or it often is, blowback, which means that the slide and the recoil spring has to hold that chamber until the bullet gets a chance to move out of the barrel. And the way that they do that is by increasing the mass of the slide and increasing the tension of the recoil spring. Well, if you look on this particular gun, there is not a whole lot of slide, which means that this has got to have one of the heaviest recoil springs that I have ever experienced. And when I actually had the big middle baby bucket, my freshman in high school, she couldn't even get this thing back. And that's why the tip-up barrel becomes so important, because when you load up your 9 rounds, you put the 10th round actually directly in the barrel, and then you go ahead and you put that back in, and it will shoot that bullet out as well to help with malfunctions. So that's the purpose of a tip-up barrel. And you'll say to yourself, well, I've seen this kind of design in the Bobcat and the Tomcat, and some of you may have even heard of the Jetfire. And this was inspired by the Beretta Jetfire, which was the first of the Beretta lines to have that tip-up barrel. The 25 was really popular back then, and they ended up coming out with the Bobcat in 22, the Minx in 22 short, and the Tomcat in 32 later. Taurus has a long history of partnering with other companies, and actually in 1962, the controlling interest of Taurus was bought by the parent company of Smith & Wesson, and that's why a lot of the older Taurus revolvers were clearly inspired by the Smith & Wesson designs. That worked until about 1973, when that link kind of dissolved. And a few years later, Beretta, who had a factory in Brazil where Taurus is mainly where Taurus is from, and they had a factory there to help produce the M9 pistols for the U.S. military. And in 1981, when they had no longer needed that facility, they sold it to Taurus and actually sold them the tooling and a lot of the specs for a lot of their different guns. And the PT-92 is a great example of it. And that's where kind of that connection with Beretta came in, and you'll see that this is clearly inspired by that Jetfire. Now, it's a different gun for sure, and you'll see that that extra width in the grip and the fact that this is double action is definitely improvements or changes from the Beretta design. And you ask yourself, well, why would you do some of those things? Well, anybody that's ever fired a really small mouse gun caliber type pistol will tell you that yes, it's really small, and yes, it fits in your pocket, but sometimes that makes them very uncomfortable or actually very hard to shoot accurately. And Taurus decided with this particular gun that they were going to give a good, nice, full grip. I can actually get my pinky on that, and yet this is still short enough and small enough that I can actually keep this in my pocket, which will make this gun a lot more comfortable to shoot and probably a lot more accurate. Because if you look at those teeny tiny little sights on there, it's aiming is going to be difficult with these sights. And if a better grip is going to help me be more accurate, that's going to be really nice. It does have a magazine disconnect safety, which I'm not wild about, but that is a trade-off that you're going to get when you start going to smaller pistols. This particular model has a stainless slide and a stainless barrel, and does have a polymer. I said that earlier. Some of the older models had an aluminum frame, so that 11.5 ounces on my model for the measurement that I got on my scale. I am excited to take this to the range and do kind of a comparison, because really the main two 25s that you see on the market right now are the Taurus PT-25 and the Phoenix HP-25A. So look for the first impressions on this, and when I take this to the range, we'll shoot them, kind of compare them, and have one range review for both of these pistols. I'm really excited to get these to the range and talk about and show you some shooting with these wonderful 25 ACP pistols. I really appreciate all of the support you guys have been giving me. Those comments, those shares, those likes really do help out a lot. And as always, you stay classy, YouTube.
I learned a lesson. Never half-ass two things. Whole-ass one thing.